What's up, my thriller action fans, and thank you for joining us on Cinema Recap. Glad to have you here as always. So today, we're going to go ahead and check out that 1998 film, Ronin, one of my faves. Hope you guys enjoy and know that there's spoilers ahead. It's Paris, France, and we open up on a very strange scene that shows us a group of random people arriving at a small cafe. Something's a bit off about them. Mostly the way they're all kind of staring at each other while trying to look super sneaky. It's like they don't even know what a spy movie is. Meanwhile, De Niro, aka Sam, is lurking outside the cafe, peering through the window like something isn't right. Before going in, he hides a gun behind some crates. Then when he goes inside, he asks if he can just pop in the bathroom, where he proceeds to unlock the back door to the cafe while no one's looking. Yep. Something's definitely going on here. After his clandestine bathroom visit, Sam sits at the bar and confirms that he's just having one drink before leaving. The bartender, Deirdre, aggressively asks,
"Why are you rushing off?"
Little rude, but it turns out that this was a code word to confirm that Sam and the others were all who she thought they were. A moment later, and they're exiting the cafe together and climbing into a white van. But not before Sam collects his gun. For all those that are wondering, Sam is obviously the clever one in this burgeoning group of criminals, but more on that later. For now, the white van takes that group of men to the warehouse, where there are another 2 men waiting for them. That makes it 5, plus Deirdre. It's now that we finally start to see what the hell is going on here. These men were hired by Deirdre to do a job of sorts.
What's the job?
But when they ask what that job is, she tells them,
People who have something we require.
Cool, Deirdre. Thanks for being so vague. I guess we'll find out later what the job's about. But for now, she leaves these 5 men behind, so as to give them a chance to get to know one another. And of course, for little dick measuring, Sean Bean leads the charge. Yeah, he's got a character name, but Sean Bean. So it's easier to just call him Sean Bean.
You ever kill anybody?
The other 4 guys are all normal by comparison. There's Sam, who we've met, Vincent, the French guy who's in charge of locating materials and weapons, Larry, the driver, just seems like a nice fella, and Gregor, the tech guy who looks a little like a serial killer.
You labor and management.
The next day is their first official meeting, where we learn who these guys are and what the hell they're all doing. Essentially, they're all ex-military types, hired to pull off a single job. As to the job, Deirdre is extraordinarily vague about the specifics of that job, but the broad strokes are that some guys are transporting a case, and these guys here are hired to retrieve that case by force. How many men are there? She doesn't know. What weapons do they have? No idea. What's the actual plan here? Nothing yet. What's in that case? That she actually knows, but she's not telling him. This is a real learn-as-we-go kind of mission, and where everyone else seems fine with it, Sam's the only one that really appears to know what he's doing. And of course there's Sean Bean, more interested in showing off his gun knowledge.
Tell Vincent what it is he'll need.
Thank God this is Sean Bean, because you know he's going to end up dying before the movie's out. In fact, if you want to go ahead and pause, place your bets on how he's going to die, I'll wait for you. The first task for this little job is weapon collection. Vincent, the French guy who you might recognize as Leon, organizes a pickup from some shady types. And indeed, they are shady. They meet by a river and right away, things are a little bit off. We got Sean Bean checking the cargo and he sees that they've only brought half the weapons. To get the rest, they have to walk down a long alleyway where this car is parked. Sam makes the obvious point that this seems a little strange and dangerous, but Sean Bean's not having it.
Give me some of the money!
He shouts and yells like a damn amateur. What an amateur. And sure enough, no sooner are Sean Bean and Vincent in the tunnel, does a gunfight start. The damn thing was a setup, which vindicates Sam but makes Sean Bean look like an idiot, which to be fair he is, as a character. We get a gunfight here, followed by a small car chase. Nothing too major or exciting yet, just a warm-up. Oh, and Sean Bean throws up when they're all done. For his tough talk, he's kind of a pussy. Cat. Seriously, someone's got to kill him off. Meanwhile, Deirdre's getting off the subway when a strange man, Seamus, pops up behind her and informs her that the Russians are trying to buy the case they intend to steal, which means that this job has to be done ASAP. She says that the team's not ready, but he doesn't care. He wants that case, whatever it is. Back at the warehouse, Deirdre gives the team the good news that they'll be moving ahead of schedule. But where everyone again is okay with this, Sam has some questions. He's starting to see how poorly organized this whole thing is and calls her out. Well, this guy means business. Which is probably a good thing, as no one else seems to. Case in point, Sean Bean. When Deirdre leaves the room to confirm with her bosses, Sean Bean tries to step up and show his skills. But little does he realize that this maneuver he's showing them is predictable and somewhat contrived. Sam recognizes it right away and also recognizes what it means. He confronts Sean Bean in front of everyone, calls him out, makes him look like an idiot, which he is. Sam then strong-arms him, pushes him back and disarms him before he has a chance to pull his piece. Sam holds the gun to his face and calls him out for being a cocky prick that doesn't know what he's talking about. And indeed, turns out that Sean Bean isn't who he said he was. He was lying, pretending to be some ex-military guy so that he could get the work. Deirdre quickly dismisses him, but not before making a threat. And for all those who had Sean Bean dies at the end of the movie, you're wrong, pay up. Rather, he simply just gets humiliated and kicked off the team. Shame really, as death probably would have been less embarrassing.
Because we will not forget.
Now the team head off to Nice, where they prepare to take the case. But Sam still isn't happy, and he runs over the plan and immediately starts to pick out problems. His main concern is security and how good the team that they're attacking is. And this isn't helped by the fact that Deirdre clearly has no idea either. She just really wants that case. To solve this problem, Sam and Deirdre head to the hotel where the guy with the case is staying, so as to see if they can scope out any new information. Here we get a nifty little trick played by Sam to trick security into thinking that they're being attacked. It starts with them asking for a random Frenchman to take their photo for them. They stand near where the guy with the case is, making sure to get a photo of him, but got pulled into taking like 35 photos for a random American couple. The photos reveal one very important piece of info. The team take a look at the photos, revealing that their target and the men protecting them are professionals, and this job is going to be a lot harder than they all thought. Sam wants 2 more men to do the job with him, but is denied. As predicted, Sam isn't happy. Bit of a theme right now. So rather than sitting around and waiting, he decides to go and stake out the villa where the man with the suitcase is staying. Deirdre won't let him go alone, and the two end up alone at night in a car together. And we all know where this is going to go. And of course, some cops driving by gives the two an excuse to kiss one another. It's the following morning, and finally the plan is underway. Deirdre sets up out of town, watching for when they drive past.
I'm in position.
So she can radio that the men are on their way. As Sam places what looks like a small bomb in a shrub as a distraction. Gregor watches from back of the van. Larry gets the getaway car ready further down the road. And Vincent sets up with Sam on the street. As to the actual plan, to be perfectly honest, for all these so-called professionals, it's not very good. They use some high-class tech to control traffic lights and stop the cars in transit. Sam then blows up the front of the car with a rocket launcher, trapping the car with the suitcase. He then pulls out another gun and just starts going to town on everyone. Very little finesse involved. The main car gets away, which gives us a chance for an awesome street race, although apparently that was part of the plan. And Gregor tracks the car from his van as Sam and Vincent give the chase. There's more explosions, more gunfire. Larry pops up in the car and attempts to box him in. The car chase has it all. It ends in a small town where they manage to trap the car and the man with the case. More gunfire breaks out, like a lot of gunfire. Definitely not an under-the-radar type of job. And as Sam and Vincent and Deirdre hold the line, Gregor ducks in and grabs the case. Only sneaky Gregor then trades the case out for a fake and hands that fake case off to Larry and bails. Well, he might not be a serial killer, but he's not much of a team player either. It's Sam to the rescue. He sees that the case isn't the same one as before, because there's some sort of powder on it. He hurriedly takes the case from Larry and tosses it just before it explodes.
Gregor fucked us!
Back at the safe house, Larry bleeds out as the others argue about what they're gonna do now. Sam wants to speak to Deirdre's contact to sort out their next move, but she reminds him that the job is still the case. And now that Gregor has the case, They just have to find him. Again, Sam is like, what's in the case? And again, Deirdre refuses to say anything. She does suspect, though, that Gregor is still going to be selling the case to the Russians. And indeed, next we cut to Gregor dealing with a Russian operative. He picks him up in a car and takes him for a drive. The way they talk too, it's clear that Gregor knows this man, and most likely used to work with him. But before the deal goes down, Gregor has to prove how much of a complete psycho he is. He pulls the car up at a playground and literally attempts to shoot a little girl, just to prove that he doesn't care and will do whatever he has to. The Russian pulls a gun on Gregor in an effort to steal the case. The case is in the back seat, and when he leans over to grab it, Gregor pulls his own gun and splatters his brains against the window. And next we cut to an ice skating rink where we meet the head Russian, Mikhail. He's dating an ice skater, but is pulled away by a phone call from Gregor informing him that the guy he sent is dead, and if he wants the case, well, he better pay up. Only now, the price has gone up 300%. Gregor tells him to sit tight and he'll let him know. In order to find Gregor, Sam and Vincent decide to triangulate his cell service. And to do this, Sam tracks down an old associate of his. And although this associate could not look less happy to be seeing Sam, he agrees to help him out. But the conversation is shady and only adds to the questions surrounding Sam. Mainly, who the heck is this dude?
I thought you left.
Gregor has set up the next meeting for inside a stadium, where he can presumably take advantage of that situation. At the very least, he takes a note out of Obi-Wan's handbook, uses that higher ground to his advantage. The Russian contacts spot him and assure him that the last time was a mistake, and they have no intention of killing him. Gregor's not having that. Meanwhile, Sam and the others have traced Gregor and are slowly moving in to take him. Larry parks the car outside the stadium and waits, only to be confronted by Seamus. Not that he knows who this is, but we do, and things don't look good for Larry. Back inside the stadium, the Russians are trying to get Gregor to show him the case when Sam pops up behind him with a gun in his back. He drags him away and demands that he takes him to the case, but before he gets a chance to say anything, a bunch of tourists rock up and Gregor screams and shouts and shoves a tourist into Sam. Sam gives chase, and he catches up to him. There's a tussle, but Gregor again gives him the slip. Now meanwhile, Vincent gets a gun pulled on him by one of the Russians, and it doesn't look good for poor Vince, until Sam accidentally distracts him, allowing Vincent to push the gun out of the way. Only this leads to Sam getting shot in the stomach by the Russian. Larry's dead. He had his throat cut by Seamus. Now Seamus also manages to get his hands on Gregor, and the three of them drive away, leaving dead Larry behind and Sam and Vincent in their wake.
I'm sorry.
She double-crossed him. And if you can't trust the Irish mob, who can you trust?
She sold us out.
Well put, Sam. Well put. Bleeding out from his gun wound, Sam tells Vincent to get him to a doctor, but Vince does him one better and takes him to a friend who happens to have said supplies. Now we get this cool scene of Sam directing Vincent on how to remove a bullet from his gut, all while awake. In case you didn't know how tough Sam was, this scene confirms it. He even nominates when he's ready to pass out.
Don't mind, I'm gonna pass out.
John Wick who? And as Sam is resting, Vince and his contact discuss Sam and where he came from. Vince reveals that Sam is a CIA operative, but most likely on the run, which explains why he was so eager to do the job. Well, it's the next day and Seamus takes Gregor to a post office, where he has had the case sent to himself. While inside collecting the case, Sam ambushes Deirdre in her car. He pulls a gun on her face, and she asks the obvious question. As a moment later, Seamus and Gregor appear with the suitcase. They see Sam with the gun on Deirdre, and rather than Sam using Deirdre to negotiate for the case, she calls Sam's bluff and drives to pick up Seamus in the case. Some gunfire exchange, but they all have stormtrooper aim and the bullets miss their targets. The good news? Now we have a car chase. Good question, Vincent. I'd say that Sam has himself a little crush is why. Deirdre's in the front with Gregor, Seamus in the case in the back seat. Sam follows close behind with Vince beside him. What follows is a rather drawn-out car chase, which, to be honest, goes for probably 5 minutes too long, and Deirdre is a surprisingly good driver. managing to keep Sam away. But Sam is damn skilled and follows with ease, slowly creeping up behind her. Even driving right into traffic isn't enough to dissuade the pesky ex-CIA agent. But things come to a head when Sam manages to ram Deirdre's car and send it off the side of a bridge. It crashes to the bottom and catches fire. Gregor, in confusion, grabs the case and runs, while Deirdre and Seamus are pulled to safety by some nearby construction workers. Unfortunately, Sam and Vince are on the top of the bridge and all they can do is just watch their targets escape. Sam and Vince regroup at the cafe and try to figure out where Gregor's gone. They realize that he's being hunted by the Russians and the Irish, so he has to act fast, but where would he go? Sam figures it out. He realizes that the fake case that Gregor used earlier must have been bought by the Russians, which means that he's working for them. So if they find the Russians, they'll find Gregor. And where are the Russians exactly? You guessed it, at the ice skating show. Sam and Vince head over. There, Vince does a little flirting with a security guard and learns who the head Russian is, Mackay, and how to spot him. They then move towards the crowd and take their seats, watching Mackay and waiting for Gregor to appear. And sure enough, soon he receives a call and leaves his seat. Sam and Vincent follow. But before we follow him, we see that there's a sniper in the banisters. The sniper has a gun pointed on the female ice skater, Mackay's girlfriend. Gregor's in the back room, waiting for Mackay. Mackay's shocked to see him, thinking that the exchange was going to go down later. But Gregor says no, and Mackay agrees, and the deal goes down. But of course, it isn't that simple. Before he leaves, Gregor informs Mackay that he has a gun aimed at Mackay's girlfriend, the ice skater. If Gregor doesn't make a phone call in 1 minute, that sniper will take the shot. And then, if he doesn't call in 10 minutes after that, the sniper will take the shot. Basically, Gregor's walking out of there alive, or Mackay's girlfriend's dead. Mackay, the cold bastard that he is, doesn't give a damn about his girlfriend. He happily kills Gregor and takes the case and the money both. With the case in hand, Mackay hurries from the stadium. The crowd is going haywire on the account of the now dead skater, and Mackay attempts to disappear with them as they hurry out. However, once he reaches outside, Seamus is waiting for him, and he shoots Mackay dead, takes that case for himself. Sam and Vincent see Seamus, and Vincent follows Seamus while Sam seeks out Deirdre. He finds her waiting in the car, and this is where we get our big reveal.
I came for him.
Sam is still in the CIA. He was never after the case, but after Seamus instead. What? Yeah. He gives Deirdre a chance to escape, and this time she takes it. Isn't love sweet? Meanwhile, Vince is on Seamus until Seamus gets the drop on him and shoots him in the stomach. Now there's just the two left. Sam chases him down the back rooms of the stadium and down the staging area, but unfortunately, Seamus again gets the drop on him and shoots him in the shoulder. His moment of gloating is undercut when Vincent pops up out of nowhere and shoots him dead, saving Sam's life. Sam and Vince meet at a cafe for a final time, and as they drink their coffee, Sam continually glances at the doorway, clearly hoping that Deirdre is going to walk in. Unfortunately, as Vincent points out,
She would not be coming back.
the two men say their goodbyes, acknowledge that they'll never see one another again, and shake hands. But before Sam leaves, Vince asks the question we all want that answer to.
It wasn't the case.
And Sam, ever clandestine about his intentions, answers with a simple,
I don't remember.
so Vince is frustratingly fine with that answer, and the two men go their separate ways. Thanks for chilling with us on Ronin, released by MGM Distribution in 1998. It was directed by John Frankenheimer and starred Robert De Niro, Jean Reno, and Natasha McElhone. This is definitely top 20 of my old school action movies. What's your guys' favorite action sequence? Let us know with that hashtag cinema recap in the comments. And as always, till next time.